The Nature of Predators, Book 2, Chapter 70, written by Space Paladin 15. Memory transcript subject, Tassie Bison Alien Liaison. Date, Standardized Human Time, December 22nd, 2160. Whatever grievances Bison might have held against the humans, we knew they'd pursue the rogue fossil that the Ambassador Loxel had told us about. The full might of the SC, raining down on the ghost exterminators, was exactly what Nalta would like to see. Perhaps it would also allow a sense of cohesion after the horrific scene that played out over Arthur. I retired to my quarters for the evening, not daring to approach the Terrans after Kindra had stormed off. The United Nations had locked themselves in their own wing for quite some time. I listened to the footage of the young Kolshian child asking the camera in an innocent, scared voice,
"Why is home, God? The humans took us away. When can I go back? It's not fair. I want to go home."
It reminded me of Rana, the war, a toll so distant from me, which was claiming lives senselessly in the same way the Federation and the Orcs' old feud had. Bisons had the same pride that left us unable to relinquish our old hatred, even against each other. Lastman stood untouched, yet the aftermath of the aliens' arrival marked other shores, plain and clear. The Tessia fighting the Selma and the Vitrelli nations, with protests at home in favor of both sides of the war. Some saw Zok taking a more prominent role alongside Lastman diplomats as favoring the nomads. As a largely Britala nation, much of the public thought we should side against the Tessia. Protests about alien refugees had included a march across the Great Basin, where Dustin and his team had first landed. We were a people, just as the Sapien Coalition was divided. I missed the simple life I had back with fishing for alien intelligence, an agency that shuttered its doors since there is no need for us to comb the stars. Desensitization to horrors that I wouldn't have dreamed of, and playing politics up here. I was sickened with the person I was becoming. I contacted the Zeridians to try and right the ship and find a path forward. What was I even doing? Convincing Loxel to partner with the Oxel and agreeing to team up with the Kaiser ourselves. The Greys used our new fleet as shields. They were deplorable allies. It was easy to say I'd compromised myself to ensure Bisons had a place in the galaxy. The truth, however, might have been that I was chasing a dream that didn't exist. But I can't say that. If I give up on the idealistic dream of aliens, that would be admitting my lifelong passion and obsession, which kept me away from friendships or any kind of non-FAI social life, was useless. I don't want to crawl into bed with this weight on my shoulders. I like to watch space expedition reruns and imagine us exploring the galaxy, all subspecies in harmony, no wars at home or in the stars. Finding that the closest thing I had to friends up here was Nalta and Noxel, I decided to seek out the Selva General for some solace. Regardless of his thorny exterior, he cared about me. The Civkit was no source of stability or comfort, with him playing the part of a lunatic. He wasn't in any Bison's good graces after keeping our attacker's identity to himself throughout the entirety of our diplomatic relations. The playwright didn't take anyone's suffering seriously, so there was no reason to assume he'd coddle me. I heard voices from within the conference room, one of which I'd have known was Nalta's from a mile away. He sounded furious with whoever he was calling. Trepidation creeping in, I poked my head through the doorway to see Kaisel on the screen.
"It doesn't matter. You used us as backing shields when we're just getting off the ground. Do you think because you gave us a few ships that you can take a few away and call it even? Bother back!" Naltor screeched.
Kaisel narrowed his eyes with fury.
"The remnants attacked us, and you didn't fight alongside us at all. You're using us, just like the humans. The Carnivore Alliance means nothing."
"Clearly, you can't even bring yourself to apologize for your shitty behavior."
"Neither can the SC. The Yodel came around pledging to be on our side, the only one out of the whole alliance."
"We got you out of isolation. That was the deal. You think that we can afford to take on a whole Federation remnants and have them exterminate us?"
"We would not allow it."
"No? You sure that you wouldn't use Avrana as a shield for your drones?"
"We protected Earth, so why wouldn't we save Avrana? Earth isn't the only planet we stowed behind. I'm sorry that the situation is difficult for you, though I'm not sorry for my actions. So take that apology as the best you'll get. The remnants attacked us for trying to help, and the humans did nothing. Those are the facts. We must take the initiative in this war so they don't come to Riss or Ivrana. There is no we, Kaisel. Then you are a fool. This galaxy needs to be rid of the ideology to ever give us a chance of getting out, or you a chance of being an equal. We're going to obliterate every ship and manufacturing center in Yupa territory, and we'll move on to all of them, one by one. As it is how happens, we already might have help from the Dresden and the Multi. Help? Nalter asked, at the same time as I mouthed the words. That's right. The Yodel shared some interesting information about who we are fighting. It was humanity and their Federation-hating friends. We were helping save the feckless UN from their own people. Finally, some humans with guts. I think the consortium would help destroy the remnants. Humans? The peace-loving humans are behind us. That doesn't sound at all like the people that fought alone for acceptance and friendship. They're the ones who wanted to stop these genocides. I don't understand why the Terrans would be involved with such acts. I don't understand why you want to solicit the help of this consortium. If they started this whole Hirschdammed war, we were just fighting to stop them from glassing planets, Neltel spluttered, sounding as befuddled as I felt. A skull hardened into Kaiser's face. The Arcs wants allies who might accept us. We're going to visit them at once, for two things. To acquire their help in destroying the remnants, and to ensure that they will no longer mistreat our obligate carnivore brethren. The Jaslips, or Osos as you call them, need our help. They've had their world destroyed and been relegated to heavily surveilled enclaves. They deserve liberty, just as we do. The consortium must grant us that to avoid our wrath turning on them. The Osos are alive, and apparently in dystopian enclaves. This just gets better. I'm done. What will the SC think of your interference with the consortium? Nalto demanded, as I turned my back on disgust and walked away. Using them to attack the remnants. We'll do the galaxy a favor. We're not asking for your permission. Besides, who knows if the SC survives the news that humanity was at the heart of this? I surely... Kaisel's voice faded off, with that conversation having instilled only new qualms over what we were doing here. The Sapien coalition that I'd scrapped and bent my morals to get us into might be about to collapse. I thought of humans as the galaxy's protectors, yet some sect of theirs had run off to launch the largest in the Rhine history on entire planets. I believed that they surmounted fleets of unfathomable devastation which consumed dozens of worlds during the Federation's reign. The Predator's prejudice was about to get even worse. It didn't take a genius to figure that out. The remnants could come after us for no reason other than our diet, and the so-called proof that hunters were genocidal maniacs, plus the Orcs planned to help burn more worlds. You know what? Feck it. I'm going to the UN suite, delivering the news about the extremist fossil, and then I'm getting the heck out of here, like Kymper did. I'll regret not passing the message along, should the ghost exterminators kill more people while Loxel allows ignorance for his amusement. I pushed through the shoulder-to-shoulder soldiers outside the doors, not caring if they stopped me. The humans hesitated to forcibly prevent my entry, rather than shouting and chasing after me with long-legged strides. I stomped up to slack-jawed staffer in the lobby, and could feel every feather trembling with fury. This was the last I wanted to see of any alien politician. They were all rotten and murderous, every damn one of them. Just like the resigning Secretary-General had exclaimed, there was no doing good up here. I'd been foolish to believe any of this organization's stated goals. The lives of entire worlds were just numbers to them, footnotes on speeches. The United Nations didn't forgive their enemies or truly unify the galaxy. Onzo was right about them losing their way, and Kaisel was right about them refusing to challenge the hateful prey folk. Hearing that they attacked Arthur, Tulsk, and Nishtal, enemies already defeated, maybe they're just as poisoned by hatred. Take me to whoever the feck is in charge in Kuiper's place, I demanded. Who is it? The UN staffer blanched. Liaison Tassie. Now isn't a good time. I know all about the consortium, and that humans were involved in this. I have important news to deliver to the Secretary-General, so you can't plead ignorance for the next genocide that happens. Who is running your rotten government now? Elias Mayer. My head snapped back. The man whose brain scan you put into an artificial body? Yes, that one. He was in charge when we first met aliens, and he's very nice. I shouldn't be talking to you, but you can't go sharing... You don't want me sharing what I know about humans? I owe you nothing. Where is he? Point me to Elias. Also help me, Hers. He's in SecGen's office, the staffer croaked, angling a finger towards the door at the end of the hallway. Please just wait here for a moment. I'll let one of the undersecretaries attend to you. Elias is occupied with another diplomat. That's your problem. Either Elias gets my info or no one does. Still simmering at the thought of everything the Sapien Coalition and humanity themselves had put us through, I stormed towards Mayor's office. That memory transcript technology was another issue. Using it to know a person's every thoughts, deceased individuals were being brought back in a way that could render flesh and blood beings obsolete, and humanity sped it up by putting their old Secretary General back in charge. From what I knew of Elias, he silenced his own people through Emergency Order 56 and was commended for it. He gave some speech to the Shield, which created this entire mess by summoning the remnants who hated predators. I didn't think highly of the synthetic human.
I'm sorry to have to tell you this, Corrigan, but I want you to hear it from me. A small group of Ark ship humans who fled during Earth's attack decades ago joined up with an alien entity known as the Krev Consortium.
Those words coming through this door stopped me in my tracks. That story reframed my perspective on the supposed human involvement, and why they would have done such a thing. They were seeking revenge for the attack on Earth, not knowing what had become of the Federation.
That's who's been attacking Alpha, Tulsk, and Nishtal. As I understand it, Kalkwar is among their next wave of targets.
A voice, which I thought belonged to a Dirtian, screeched out in outrage. Why did you just tell me, Elias? After everything Kalkwar has been through, you know that we never forgive attacks on us. I wanted nothing more than to see your diplomatic efforts succeed, and to see us become friends. You almost made me believe in you. What am I supposed to do with this?
We, the United Nations proper, will defend the Dirtian with overwhelming force. We saved you decades ago, which must be remembered and worth something. You know we didn't let your world fall then, even after you spit in our faces. How much more fervently would we stand beside you now, as dear friends, having worked together for so long and finally being a proper allies?
You will destroy these humans and the consortium, and do it with a smile.
I won't advise any planet's destruction, Corrigan, because what I want is a peaceful resolution. Have you no sympathy for terrified Ark colonists who saw nothing but Federation's utter hatred of our existence? Even you wanted revenge for those you deemed responsible for the deaths of Kalkwar. They believed Earth had no survivors, and demanded the same destruction you asked of me now.
You told me you wanted to move on from the old hatred from Arthur and Tulsk, but you're an apologist for your own people's attack and killed them. I'd overlook their deaths because I don't care. But we are your allies. We have been faithful. We advised neutrality with the hotter heads in the Shield and gave you our gratitude. The power is in your hands to impose justice now. I believe in you. I aided you against my government's wishes. Your people gave us back our identity and gave us light in the darkness. A way forward. You promised us progress, yet here we are again.
That we are here again is my very issue. Healing and compassion are where the true progress and enlightenment lies. I can't compromise that like others on the UN have done. Corrigan, you are my friend. We might not always see eye to eye on methodology, but I believe in you too. This hatred must end somewhere. Please, join me in making this right.
I can't join. Not with my people in the balance. The Dirtian delegation would join the Kainfa in walking out of this disgraceful sham of an organization until you learn how to make better of her, Elias. The door was flung open, and I pulled myself back against the wall as a grey-feathered avian stomped past me with wings outstretched. Corrigan angled one seething eye towards me, beak parting with disdain. The Dirtian didn't offer any words, instead pointing his beak at the ceiling and stalking off in a haughty manner. My righteous anger had fizzled out after hearing the exchange. Elias Mayer actually wanted to let go of old hatred, and wouldn't bend on his morals. Healing and compassion were the path to progress. Somewhere in my tattered, idealistic soul, I still believed. All I wanted was an alien who genuinely sought to help, without any demands in return. I peeked my beak through the entryway, seeing the silver-haired figure leaning over his desk, head in hands. Maya looked so crushed and exhausted. Would Elias actually care about all that Bisons have been through? Could he show me more than a brief glance of humanity? The unifiers and defenders that I saw in Nishtal? I knocked on the door with a flipper. Sir, I understand if you don't have time now, with the Oxford Federation War and these Ark-humans coming to light. The synthetic Terran's gaze snapped up, and his eyebrows knitted together. A gentle smile creased his face.
I always have time for you, Dr. Tassi.
The UN should have supported you and your bid to join the Sapien Coalition, and also given you some training wheels to find your way. They made choices about their priorities that I don't agree with. Whatever you need, ask. Perhaps these words sound hollow to you, but I mean it. I'll rattle any cages I must.
Thank you, sir. The United Nations has sent more aid to Avrana of late, in fairness.
So she did listen to me.
She? Kaimpha? You're the reason that humans started reaching out?
Alai shook his head. No, I wouldn't say that. I merely reminded Kaimpha of the purpose she had long since forgotten. I can see that some disillusionment in your eyes, Doctor. Her departure from the organization comes on the heel of 2 decades of disenchantment. How hard is it to take abuse and maintain one's optimism, pleasing with kindness and reason to an unblinking audience?
It is impossible. I can't bear to be surrounded by all of this death and destruction and having to struggle for everything that we've been given.
There was something about his mild-mannered demeanor that was so disarming that the words spilled from my mouth.
Being manipulated and used by humans, the very people I looked up to, even after Dustin was supposed to bring it to your attention, not so much as an apology. I assumed those gifts were some half-hearted attempt to offer one, but it seems not.
I don't know anything of this, and to my knowledge, the SecGen's office was never approached by Dustin Curtis with any grievances. Who manipulated you, Tassie?
Does he sincerely not know?
General Jones. Anger radiated from his artificial eyes. That, I believe. What did she try with our first uplifts behind the United Nations' back?
Well, sir, she threatened to expose, I'll have to add on some context that might not reflect well on us. She threatened to expose the SC that we'd been speaking to the Arxol, and that our leaked information was behind their escapade. If I did not spy on my own people for her. I understand if this makes you angry, sir. It was true.
The only thing that makes me angry is Jones blackmailing you into spying on your own people, for doing the very thing that I asked of Tava with my final breath. I wanted to make peace with the Arxol who desired a better future, yet the Sapien Coalition will speak with them. Bisoms should have the same free choice as any galactic citizen. There is no such blackmail for the Yodel, or even us, building embassies on Riss.
By trying to shirk the blackmail, sir, Nalto was clever enough to admit that he brought the Arxol to task, which rendered Jones's info useless. I told him of a scheme, and I didn't betray my people.
It doesn't matter. You should never have been approached and threatened by any of the United Nations high-ranking officials. I'll have her crimes brought to the attention of the High Council, and find out whether Kaimpha had any inkling of this. You have my word. What can I give you that'll begin to make this right? Name it.
Have the Sapien Coalition call for a vote on our trial status. See that it passes.
Maya arched his eyebrows. Done. Our word won't be worth much, but I'll call for a vote and argue tirelessly on your behalf. Your right to exist as a sovereign people, enjoying equal privileges under this organization, should not be questioned. We're fortunate that you still wish to join us, Tassie.
I wanted Bisoms to be part of the galactic community once. I haven't felt that we've had any true friends, sir. I'm done with this worthless dream. I'll be following Kaimpha's footsteps and heading home.
You need a break. Self-care and self-love are the same, Tassie. So I encourage you to take a sojourn on Avrana. What I humbly ask of you is to come back. Give humanity, under my guidance, perhaps, one final chance to make this right. The entire SE needs to start over fresh, and without good people like yourself, that cannot happen.
What could I do that would make any difference?
Maya's lips curved up wistfully. The impossible. You told me that's what staying optimistic in the face of an abyss was. Impossible. I would rather our hopes proved foolish 1,000 times over than give up on making this universe better. Someone must try.
Tears welled in my eyes as those words struck a chord deep in my heart. He spoke with such an intoxicating optimism, despite knowing it was a pipe dream. This was humanity's whose ideals I had commended and would have followed to the end of my days. Perhaps it was foolish hope that made me believe that Elias was as altruistic as he appeared. Yet I'd rather have that rug yanked out from me 1,000 times than lose sight of it all. For all that was broken on the Avrana and the Sapien Coalition, I wanted to believe that a more harmonious future could exist. There had to be some parties that weren't cruel and self-serving here, even if we had to lead them ourselves. I wiped the water from my cheeks and ducked my head. Thank you, sir. I'll consider coming back. I'm sorry to have burdened you with this. I wasn't even what I came here to say.
I'm glad that I know how you're feeling. My door is always open, and I would very much like to see our people become the most earnest of friends, Bryan responded. If this wasn't the whole of your concerns, might I ask what you intended to share with your visit?
I hate to add more to your plate, but it is serious. The Sifkits knew who attacked Avrana 100 years ago all along. According to Loxel, there was a sect of rogue fossil archivers who believed they should kill all meat-eating sophonts. I noticed Maya's expression morph into alarm and bowed my head sheepishly. They tried to find species like us before the mainstream fossil had a chance to try cure. They hide in secret and have some information that wasn't even recorded in the official archives, like Tinzes's location. I thought it was important that humanity should know.
If this is true, that constitutes a grave threat to many of the SC members, as well as to any undiscovered species who can't begin to defend themselves. Loxel isn't reliable, but still, we need to track down the Sifkit ambassador at once. Please excuse me, Doctor. I must inform my generals of this before I deliver this, speech.
The human offered a strained smile, which seemed to be concealing an internal rising dread.
When it rains, it pours. What a day. You've done well, friend. Go shed some stress on Avrana. It'll do you good to forget this all.
I bowed my head. It seems a reprieve might benefit you as well.
I'm afraid I don't have that luxury. There is no other diplomat in stock that won't be yawning up a storm by the 30th hour awake.
Maya flashed his teeth, amused at his quip.
Take care, Doctor, until we meet again.
I stepped out of the Secretary General's office in much calmer fashion than how I had barged over to it. Elias Mayer would have his most unenviable task ahead of him, sharing the news of the Ark colonists involved in the attack. I hoped the dirty Ambassador Korrijan's explosive reaction wouldn't be representative of the rest of the assemblage. If anyone could achieve a peaceful reaction with everything that was erupting at once, I believe it was the man I had just spoken to. Humanity and the Sapient Coalition might find their way again under his leadership. End of chapter. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.